Emerging Life and Money Show, the live podcast dedicated to helping professional women achieve financial wellness by merging the emotional and practical sides of money. I am your host, Marie-Jo César, and I am thrilled to bring you a conversation that is truly special, one that addresses the gap between where we are and where we aspire to be. Our guest today is a phenomenal woman, a beacon of inspiration, an embodiment of resilience, and an undeniable testament to the power of dream. She is none other than Julia Gentry. Julia is a founder of the Dream Factory & Co. She's a national speaker, an acclaimed author, a fervent growth coach, a dedicated wife, and most of all, an inspiring homeschool mom to 5 vibrant children. I want to be just like you, Julia, when I grow up. Welcome. From embarking on her professional journey in real estate to experiencing burnout in her early 30s to what she terms her midlife awakening, Julia's life story is a testament to strength and persistence. Today, she confidently proclaims that she is living the dream. So the Dream Factory, her brainchild, was born out of a vision to ignite the sleeping dreamer within everyone. It empowers individuals with the tools to navigate the path from their current reality to their ultimate dreams. And with the help of her pioneering dream framework, Julia has successfully helped thousands of dreamers to answer their lingering questions. Is there something more? As an influential speaker and thought leader, Julia holds an unshakable belief that the future of our world rests upon the shoulders of those with the greatest conviction. So get ready, dear listeners, as we journey with Julia Gentry, the woman who dares you to dream, to discover the keys to bridging the gap and daring to dream. I won't say big, but bold. So this episode promises to be a life-changing encounter, one filled with riveting insights and compelling takeaways. So thank you all for tuning in. Sit back, relax, grab a pen and notebook, and get ready to take some notes. It's going to be good. And as we embark on this journey today with our remarkable guest, let's remember that our dreams are not just mere figments of our imagination, but the seeds of possibility. And the one leading us into this profound exploration today is a woman who has transformed the seeds of her dreams into a blossoming reality. So our conversation today will revolve around just about 3 points. We're going to talk about the book, her best-selling book, Dream, I Dare You. We'll look at how we go from being a dreamer to becoming a doer. And we're going to look into what is belief formation and why is it such an important chapter. So without further ado, let's delve into the mind of the daring dreamer herself, Julia Gentry. Julia, the journey that led you to write your best-selling book, Dream, I Dare You, is inspiring. Welcome, welcome. Can you share the journey that led you to write the best-selling book and what was the initial inspiration behind it?
No, I so appreciate that question right out of the gate because a lot of times you'll hear, thank you, by the way, for such an incredible introduction. You should just read that to my family every day before I get out of bed. Yeah, as I'm wiping butts and putting food on the table and all those things. But I think it's so true because a lot of times, even when you hear something that beautiful and then I'm living the dream, oftentimes we just go, oh, must be nice or easy for you or all of these things. But to be totally honest, Marie, the reason that I wrote this book is, yes, today I am living my dreams, but come to find out it's really hard. And I was finding that there was no book out there that was teaching me how to do the hard well, and all the things I'm sure that we'll unpack today, from the mindset to the heart set to the skill set of how to do that. I wasn't seeing it. I wasn't finding it. And my husband and I kid all the time, but we took one for the team, and our life's journey really is this book. It's the framework that we put in this book was all the lessons that we learned along the way. And I think I just had the courage and the audacity to put pen to paper to write it down. But for us, it was that moment that after building the American dream, my husband and I are entrepreneurs. So to make a long story short, we've had some really good successes and we've had some epic failures. We've had some wins in real estate. That was followed by $100,000 in debt. Like, it was one of those things that we made a lot of money, but we were spending more than we were making. And we were building a successful company, but we didn't know the mindset of actually running a company. And it was post that when we rebuilt our lives and we bought the house and the car and the 2.5 kids and all the things that people tell you should do to be successful. We had done them, and yet we were crawling into bed every night still asking a simple yet profound question. And that was, is there something more? Like, where's the fulfillment in all of this? And we were proud and we had the things, but we weren't alive. So we did what most people don't do. We didn't get a tattoo. We didn't buy a car. We sold everything. But at the time, 3 kids, we were like, let's hit the road. Let's travel the country. And I kid, but my husband, it was his dream come true to travel the country in an RV. For me, it was my hell on earth. It was my hell on earth. But I learned in that time about some of my control issues that I didn't know I had. I learned about the girl who had been living in a box most of her life. I learned about the follow the rules and don't ruffle the feathers girl. I learned about the girl who was a hider. I learned about the girl who was playing safe. Almost brings tears to my eyes talking about it. It was in this RV trip that I just started to recognize all of these things that I had done to put myself in the box. And it was there that I just felt like I had this moment with God, that I had the vision of this dream of what was potentially going on in my own heart and soul, and then potentially what could be going on in the hearts and souls of so many other people. And so that's where I started writing the book. And it translated from just all these lessons that I learned to things that I was doing with my current clients to just everything in between. And here we are now, actually living out the dream and teaching people how to do it and what the framework is and how to do the hard. And here we are today.
Yeah, it's amazing that you should say that, because this happened to everybody. And I hate to say that, but sometimes it takes a hard fall for one to realize that, you know what, you got to know yourself. There's a better version of yourself somewhere.
Yeah.
And so once you start to really realize that there are opportunities there to be doing better, it's totally changed.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me, as the author, can you share how you got there? But can you share with us one great message about the book? What is it all about? And I understand what you're saying. If somebody wanted to pick up that book, and what should they expect to get from it?
Yeah. So I'll throw this out there too, is a lot of times when let me just say this, the number one killer of dreams is disappointment. And so what happens is when we start having this conversation around dreaming again, we have to understand that we have a lot of past hurt. We have a lot of disappointment. We have a lot of narrative that tells us it's impossible, not logical, not realistic. We shouldn't, couldn't, can't. Like, that's a real thing. And so for me, I believe in God. And so in a moment when I felt like I was drawn to write this book, I really felt like it was God ordained that I'm supposed to write this book. And I did in a moment what everybody probably does, is we disqualify ourselves from that dream. I love writing, but I didn't go to school for writing. I'm not great at spelling. It was like, who am I? And everybody writes books, and why would I do that? And you know who I am? And I did the same thing. And so after resisting that dream for truly a decade, my husband will tell you, he's like, when you write that book, it became a joke, because it was like, when are you gonna write that book? When are you gonna write that book? But for me, what this book actually is, this is not a book that's designed to make you feel good. It's a book that is designed to make you be good. And what you learn in the process of being good, and this, I think a lot of times we see this in marriage, is that when I think about my husband, I'm not here to make him happy. I am here to help him be the best version of him, which means sometimes I have to do hard things with him because that requires him to do hard things, right? That means that I get down and I do one more push-up with him on the day if he wants to be physically fit and he doesn't want to do it. That's what this book is. This book is, I have a dream. I want to start a business, right? I want to give to charity. I want to travel the country in an RV. I want to be an author. What this book is designed to do is it's actually designed to almost help you unlearn all the things you think you know. It's designed to set you on the trajectory of greater levels of awareness. It's designed to help you break through the limiting beliefs that will try to stop you. And for most people do, if they're not aware of them, they will stop you. And then it's designed to, I even said this in my introduction, it's designed to introduce you to your fire, your burn, the thing that you can't not do. So as you begin to dream again, that you have the mental, emotional, and spiritual tools to not only get through the hard days, but then have the character to hold the weight of the blessing. Because I think that's what most people don't understand is it's not just about getting there, it's about staying there.
Absolutely. Hearing you, I always say, you know what? You're not in control of that party. Okay. Yeah. So the first thing you got to do, and it's great, but what I found it's very hard for people is to even define their purpose. And I believe that one is on this earth for a reason.
Yeah.
But until you're able to put your finger on it, it's hard. Yeah. It's hard for you to even start dreaming. And a lot of people, as you said, fall victim of their circumstances and they figure that this is it. But you got to have the faith, okay? You got to have the faith and you got to delegate whatever it is to the universe, okay? Yeah. Whatever you call it, God, whatever it is to you. But this is so true what you say, right? Yeah. And we all have something within ourselves that is just can't wait to get out.
Yeah. And I think that's because I hear a lot of times people will say, I don't have time. I don't have time. Like life is so busy, my to-do list. Like, again, you don't understand my past. Have you seen the economy? Have you gotten on the news? Like, the problem is, right? Like, if life is getting in the way of you living your dreams, then what is the point of life? And yes, you're right. I think we live in the natural world, but the idea here is that we have to be able to have a dream that is louder than this life to live for and actually informs us on what we're supposed to do today. So if I actually spend my life if I dream as though my life depends on it, because it does, and I have a dream that's bigger than this life to live for, then it helps me make decisions today, despite what's going on around me.
Totally.
More than ever before.
Life is what you make it.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen if you don't, first of all, know what it's all about. So tell me, and you touched on it, but what does a title Dream Idea You mean to you personally? And what do you hope it means to your readers?
Yeah. I think, again, when I landed on this concept of dreaming, I did not want to write a book on dreaming. I already had a preconceived notion about dreaming. Unlike you, we even said right at the beginning, before we started the interview, I'm a straight shooter. I'm a give it to me straight kind of girl. And so when this idea of dream and dream idea, I was like, no, that's so overused and so overplayed, until I went on this journey of really understanding what is dreaming and why is it that all of us know a lot about it, but nobody's actually living it. Actually, maybe this is something that we all ought to dare to do. And so the title of it in my own life and what it does for other people is that it's actually inviting people into unlearning and really understanding what it is to dream, to know why most of us are not living the dream, and then to actually give you the tools to be able, to your point, to dare to do it, because it is hard. It is actually really hard, but so is the opposite. Not living your dreams is hard. Living your dreams. Having money is hard. Not having money is hard. Being single is hard. Being married is hard. Having one kid is hard. Having 5 kids is hard.
It's all perspective, Julia. It's all perspective. Once one understands that, it's understanding yourself and knowing what you want and what will work for you. Yeah. So tell me, how the Dream Idea You relates to your overall mission at the Dream Factory & Co.?
Yeah. I mean, it's really the lifeblood of our business, even just from a real micro level. what you read in this book, this is my husband and my daily conversation. We're talking about this stuff as a couple. My team, when we're not only working together as a unit, when we're coaching people, it's the lifeblood of what our company does, what we believe. It's our entire framework. So the Dream Factory & Co., we have mastermind groups, we have Dare to Dream conferences, we have courses, we have different ways that people can engage to actually not only do the work, but be in community, right? I really think that dreaming is hard in and of itself, but we should not be dreaming alone. We need to be in community doing this with other people. And so it's really started to turn into, again, Jay, not only a book, but a movement and a community. It's a conversation for people. It's alive. It's been really cool. It's an alive message.
And I think it's needed, really, because some people, they just can't do it alone. And some people, they really think that dreaming, yeah. But until they hear what it is all about and they try to figure it out, we all have dreams. We all aspire to be something or to do something.
Yeah.
So I really take my hat off to you for you to really bring that out and get people to understand that dreaming is not keeping your eyes closed and wishing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's shift gears a little bit to the concept of going from being dreamers to doers. So in your experience, what is the most challenging aspect of this transition?
Yeah, I think a lot of times, again, and this has been in all my exploration of this topic and then working alongside people, I've redefined what dreaming is. So in my book, I talk about, we got to lay down what we think dreaming is so we can actually get the benefit of what it is. In my mind, dreaming is the ability to have great and intense focus in a totally different realm that brings about possibilities. So I see dreaming and doing as the same thing. It's one and the same. I don't see them as two different things. And I think that's where we go wrong as people, is we see them as two different things. Dreaming and doing is not two different things. It's one and the same. It's my ability to not focus on the world around me. It's also my ability to not focus on my past. It's my ability to actually focus on the thing that's in me to do. And then it's my fire that allows me to bring it about and to give it to the world around me. It's one and the same. How am I able to do that? Because I'm so connected to the thing that I want to do that regardless of what's happening around me, regardless of what happened yesterday or in my early teens or as a kid, I have this conviction and this fire that feels like I have this God-ordained task to bring this dream to my reality. That's what it means to be a dreamer. So when we stop seeing it as two different things is when we can actually reap the benefit of what it means to be a dreamer. It's one and the same. It's both.
Good explanation for that. So you said that your dream framework helps people bridge the gap between dreaming and doing. So can you delve into how that works?
Yeah. So we actually, in the book, we've created a process. So when people go, again, most of the time when people pick up the book or they come to our conference or they do any of our workshops, they're like, this was not what I was thinking. This is not a vision board to make me feel good. This, like, I'm crying and I'm like going back to past hurt and I'm looking at what I call the thing under the thing. And so we've actually just created a process for people to actually start to unlearn so they can learn not only what their dreams are, but more importantly, again, the pieces of breaking down the limiting beliefs and the patterns that are keeping them stuck. It's things like we see ourselves as controllers or passive aggressive, or I'm not good at communication. And we have to realize when you learned to do all of that. And so there's this breaking and there's this unlearning that you have to go through. So it wipes the slate clean, right? It actually puts our mind and our heart in a place where we go, oh my gosh, what's possible here? And then we continue to give them the pieces to understand, what is my burn? What is it that I'm motivated by? What is my place of passion? What do I want to bring to this world? What am I dreaming? And how do I continue to stay focused on where I'm going, not just where I've been? So we actually give people the mindset, heart set, and then the tactical tools to do that. That's what this book does. It's an actual process.
Yeah, that's great. And that's pretty clear to me. So are you able to share some success stories from people who have used your dream framework? To turn their dreams into reality.
Yeah. So we actually, one of my favorite testimonies is actually my right-hand gal. Her name is Cammie Oftemauer. About a year and a half, 2 years ago, I spoke at a church and her mother-in-law was sitting in the audience, heard me speak, picked up my book and was like, Cammie, you've got to read this book. And Cammie was like, I'm already living my dream. Why would I read this? And she was the director of Habitat for Humanity. She was like, I don't need to read that book. I've got it. I'm good. It's her mother-in-law. So she also was like, okay, sure, fine. I'll read this. But she got into chapter 4 and she said it was like her whole world broke open. Like she started to see how much she was living in fear, how small she was playing. It was like, she said her life was like revolutionized. And so at that point in time, honestly, Marie, she says that she just Facebook stalked me for months. She just stalked me and started following all the things. And I happened to post that I was hiring one day. Right. And I needed a wingman to come alongside me and help me grow this into a bigger business. And anyway, she reached out to me and one thing led to the next. And I asked her, so what would it take for you to leave your job and come work for me full time? And it was in that moment that it was like this simple book. She had applied it. She went through the entire framework. She chased me. She was like, I have to work for you. Like she used all of it. It was really cool. But it ultimately put us in a position where what we've done together, her dream and my dream coming together, both of us having gone through this framework, both of us doing the work, we've impacted thousands in this last year. We've doubled revenue. We've watched our subscribers grow by over 50%. We've seen our number. We've built a business together in the course of a year of something that I didn't have 2 years ago. The testimony has been incredible. So again, why I tell that testimony too is, they say the plumber's house always leaks. Stop saying that is not, we should not have plumber's houses leaking.
Yeah.
But this one is so special is because we drink the Kool-Aid. Like this is not just a show for people. We've actually seen my life, her life transformed, and now we're better together. It's really cool.
The way I like to put it, I eat my own cooking.
That's amazing. It's so
so unless you could do that, you can't give it to somebody else, right? And be effective at it.
Yes.
For someone who feels that they are stuck in the dreaming stage, what practical steps would you suggest they take to become a doer?
Yeah, I think number one, read the book. This is not a crazy sales pitch for the book, but truly, this is why I wrote the book. I wrote the book for people who felt like they were.
That's a blueprint.
But I think if we're talking, I think a couple things. I think that when we notice, I'm fascinated by patterns, MJ. When someone comes to me and goes, I'm stuck, or I'm a controller, or I don't have enough money, or I don't have enough time, whatever the excuse is, fill in the blank. We all just call it something different. I will always say to people, is this a one-off? This is the first time you've been stuck, or are you generally always stuck? Is this the first time you haven't had money, or have you generally always never had money? Most of the time people say, it's probably a pattern. So at some level, when we start to recognize a pattern, well, that's on you. And you have to be willing to ask yourself, what is that pattern giving you? And a lot of times it's my safety, it's my security, it's my hiding place. So we have to recognize that our stuck is giving us something, right? It's giving me control. It's giving me power. It's making me feel safe. Okay, great. So now the next question I ask is, pick your heart. It's going to be hard to stay stuck, and it's going to be hard to get unstuck. So what hard do you want the most? And I say that because I've been there. Daily, I ask myself, what do I want most versus what I want now? Do I want to stay stuck, or do I want to learn how to get unstuck? They're both going to be hard. And so at that level, why I ask that question is because the majority of this battle, this too, is it's all mindset.
It is.
Literally, you could Google how to get unstuck financially, how to make $1 million, how to have a passionate marriage, how to travel the country in the RV. We would find pages and pages of answers.
Oh yeah.
But the more I Google, the less I know. You're like, what in the world? So for me, when I'm dealing with people, is that if people then shut down even more, I will go, I love you with my whole heart, and you have to get your mind right in order to get your dream right. So get your mind right. The dream will be a byproduct of the right mindset, which again is going back to the book. And to your point, right? Everything you do, mindset is everything. Technique, layer that puppy on top of it. Mindset is the most important thing.
Yeah, you could want anything that you want if your mind is not up to it. And nowadays, seem as we want to be an autopilot and have somebody doing the thinking for us.
Yeah.
And then we complain about the outcome.
Yeah, totally.
So it doesn't quite work like this. You know where you're at. You know what hurts.
Yeah.
And guess what? That person in the mirror, that's the person that could help you.
Yeah.
Start dreaming, as you said, bold.
Yeah.
And start doing.
But I think people go, well, I need a more tactical step. But this step worked for me. So my husband and I, we got sober 2 years ago. And I joke in that I wasn't an alcoholic to where people were worried about me drinking. I drank often. So I drink on Monday and Friday, and it's 3:00 every day. I need a drink. And so it wasn't a problem for most people, but it was a problem for me. And I knew that it was keeping me from what I really wanted most. And so I remember that day feeling stuck, right? Because I knew that I needed to quit, but I didn't want to, and all the things that we do and hide behind stuck. And it was this exact question that I just said, what is this giving me that I can't give myself? Changed everything. That your answer changes everything when you realize I'm actually not stuck, but I'm hiding behind this thing. And if I can identify what it is, then I could actually be set free, because then it comes down to, do I want to be right or do I want to be free? And for all of us, we want to be free. And you're going to have to let go of the mindset of being stuck and realize you're not stuck. It's the belief that you're stuck, and that can change.
And you see, the problem is that a lot of people, they hide behind excuses. They have to have a bag of excuses, a drawer of excuses for not accomplishing their dreams, or not being able to carry out their dreams.
Yep.
Now, moving on to the topic of belief formation.
Yes.
Can you explain what belief formation is and why it is such a significant part of your framework?
Yeah, it is. Totally. It is the main impetus for it. And the reason why is because when I started watching patterns in my life and in hundreds of people I had been coaching up until that point, when I first got into coaching, I was doing business coaching. So after real estate, I started doing business coaching, and I was giving people strategic plans, process maps, 1, 2, 3 step guides on how to be successful. And people still weren't doing it. Adults. These were people who were running their own businesses, not doing the things that could make them successful. And I just remember year in and year out going, what is going on with us? What is this pattern? What is this gap between here's where you are, here's where you want to be. And in theory, all you have to do is all these steps. Nobody does them. And they're simple, stupid, hard. They're simple and they're stupid and they're hard, but we're not doing them. So I was fascinated by the gap, right? So for me, when I start to identify patterns, so when we see patterns of I don't have enough money ever, and I feel like I'm stuck always, and I can never get ahead. And like when we start to see these patterns, I've always been a controller, or don't really trust people. That means we're actually hedging ourselves into identifying that we have a belief system. This is not about technique. This is not about skill set. This is now about a belief set. That's why I believe that growth has very little to do with skill set. It has a lot to do with mindset. So the belief formation equation was my ability to unpack what's happening here that creates a belief then. Because if we could change that, then couldn't it be so that's how we would change our reality? Don't just change your habits, change your beliefs, right? So the belief equation actually walks people through this equation of that it starts with an experience. We all have an experience, and it means nothing until we create an interpretation, and our interpretation matters. Because once I have an interpretation, then I start to create a lot of confirmation around it. Oh, there it is. Oh, that's true too. Oh, that's true too. That's true. And so now I'm confirming it to be true. Then I internalize it, make it mean something about me. And then I hang my hat on it. I call it life. That's just the way that it is. That's just the way marriage is. That's the way God is. That's the way money is. I'll never have enough of it. Why? Not because there's not enough of it, but because that's the belief that I believe to be true. And I have a lot of evidence to prove it. I grew up in poverty. My parents this, and I live in a poverty, and I this, and I that. And all we do is and we're right. You know what I'm saying? Like the hardest part about it is I'm right until I'm not.
Yeah.
That equation changes everything for people, because now I actually hold the key to changing my future if I can unpack my past.
In fact, my next question to you, and you probably answered most of it already, is how have your own beliefs evolved over the course of your life and career, and how has this influenced your work?
Wow.
So clearly you touched on this. Yeah.
All of it. If I was a poster child for any chapter in my book, there'd be 2 of them, but one of them is around limiting beliefs, because when I identified what my greatest limiting belief was at 29 years old, MJ, I lived my life in my limiting belief. It's why I learned to control. It's why I learned to hide. It's why I learned to play small. It's why I learned At one point, I was the picture perfect kid, and then I was the completely rebellious kid. My limiting belief, which says I'm a fraud, I'm not as good as you think I am, and you're going to reject me, shaped every single decision I made. It shaped it all. So when I understood it, I was like, oh, that's why I had the need to be perfect in my teens. That's why I was rebellious early 20s. I was so rebellious. That's why I needed to be successful and make money. All of a sudden, it was like, I'm not living my life. My limiting belief is living my life.
Yep. And mind, beliefs, and that's what drives us. I don't care what area of your life that you're talking about. It could be health. Okay, I'm overweight and I got to do something about it. As you mentioned, you're drinking. Okay, I knew that, but for one time you felt that, okay, I'm going to, how you come back from whatever and said, oh, I need me a drink to relax and all this. And these are things that we create and that we use as crutches to justify our action, which deep down, we know this is not right.
And I think the encouraging part of this, because this is deep work. When you read my book and when you decide to live at this level of awareness, it's really deep work. But I'm convinced that if I don't break, I will never heal. And so what most of us are doing is we know a ton about our past, but we're not actually healing, right? So now what I'm doing is, because I'm very aware of my past, I'm taking my past and I'm throwing it on my future. I never had money, so there. I was hurt by my dad, so there. Like, there will never have enough time, so there. And we just we take our experiences and our interpretations of what we've lived, and unfortunately, we're throwing those on our future, expecting a different result. You're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. So we have to bravely be able to navigate the past through the lens of breaking and healing, so we can become.
So can you share, and you mentioned a few personal experiences, but can you share some practical advice for someone struggling to form positive and empowering belief?
Yeah. Yeah. So the amazing thing about this, a lot of times people will say, well, if I think about beliefs, do I just chant better positive thoughts? Do I just like Pinterest up all the positive quotes on my wall? I'm like, no, please don't do that. Don't you the worst thing that you could do is falsify beliefs. If you're like, I am the greatest, if you don't believe it, stop. Like, it doesn't work that way, right? Now, the belief formation equation works from a negative perspective equally as it does from a positive perspective. So once you actually run this out and recognize what your limiting belief is, then you're actually able to flip it and go, I wonder then, if I look back at some of my earliest memories at the positive impact and what the other side of my belief patterns were creating, and you gain awareness around the true core positive belief, which is really a vision to live into, now you're playing ball. So then a lot of times I was just working with a group of in my mastermind yesterday, and they go, yeah, so I have this limiting belief, and now I have this vision, I have this dream. But she goes, why are the limiting beliefs so much louder? Like, why is that just easier to believe? Whatever we pay attention to most and longest. So it doesn't mean that your vision and dreams are less likely or less powerful or less true. I just actually don't give as much weight to those. And so what happens is I'm giving a ton of weight to the lie. And I have a lot of confirmation that says, yeah, see, they let me down and I didn't have money there and it won't work there. I have so much of that it just becomes louder and louder. And then guess what? I pay attention to it more and I pay attention to it more.
Yep.
So the idea here is that I got to create some new muscle memory. It's neuroplasticity. It's lifting till failure concepts. It's being able to learn how to make decisions based upon where you're going, not how you're feeling, not what you're thinking. And so that's a big conversation, but generally how you start to outweigh that is you start to make decisions based upon where you're going.
Yeah, I think one would have to kind of almost retrain their mind, retrain the way that they think.
Correct.
And I can understand perfectly now, because I did pick your book up, and why you dedicated an entire chapter to belief formation. And clearly you really feel that.
It's huge. And it's something that you have to work on for the rest of your life. This isn't something that you go, oh, it's like brushing your teeth. You don't brush your teeth once and go, all right, I'm done for the rest of my life. No, you do it in the morning. and you do it at night.
That's maintenance for sure.
When you think about that, you're right. Like now, my job as a human, as a dreamer, morning, noon, and night, I'm actually rewiring my brain based upon where I'm going in any scenario, whether my kids are yelling, nobody's listening to me, whether I turn on the news, whether I'm hanging out with my girlfriends, I am constantly going, oh, what am I going to do here? Like it's a constant training. And when you finally realize, that's when you'll start to master your life, because you're not in resistance with the process. So when you finally just flow with the process, you actually start to get good at it. You never perfect it, but you get good at it. That's where we want. That's where you ultimately.
That's an ongoing thing, right?
Ongoing.
And you develop things, and you say, okay, I have to set my boundaries. I have to do this. I have to do that. But again, it's a whole mind shift. A whole reprogramming of the way that you used to see things, and the way that you used to think, and the way that you used to do things.
Yeah.
So it's simple, yet it's not something that it's in the face.
Yeah. That's why I call it, but one of my favorite hashtags is simple, stupid, hard. It's simple. It is super simple, and it is some days really stupid hard.
My next question, and I know I'm asking a lot of questions, but I like to ask questions. As someone who has lived the transformation from burnout to living the dream, how important has belief formation been in your personal journey? And as I said, it's one of your biggest chapters in your book.
Yeah.
But I just wanted my listeners to really understand the importance of that concept,
Huge.
The whole concept of belief formation. So how important has it been for you? Because clearly you're living it, you're breathing it, you're teaching it, it's there. So in a couple of words, tell me.
Yeah, a couple of words. I love that you said another hour. Do we have another hour to do
this? Let's say that.
Okay.
Figuratively speaking.
Well, burnout is very different than finding your burn. What's the difference? Yeah. Burnout is willpower, and you're tired, you're exhausted, it's not sustainable. That was MJ. I was living from a place of burnout because I was living from a place of fear, control, didn't trust anyone. So though I was successful and perfect and all the things, I'm in burnout zone, right? Because it's not sustainable. When I find my burn and I know what I'm dreaming and I live my life based upon those dreams, it's sustainable. It's beautiful. You have energy from the inside out. You don't need the world to give you what you already have. You can't not get up in the morning, and it's easier to get through the day. It's the shift of motivation. It means everything.
Right. It's so important. And that is such a great conversation that we are having, because it's so needed, because it's so many things in a way. I'm just looking at the factor called consumerism. If you don't prepare yourself, you get taken into this big black hole, and you have to have the next shiny thing. And that's not what I really want. I'm not going to have it just because it's a thing to have. So in order for you to be able to reach that point, you have to be able to know what brings you joy and fulfillment.
Yeah.
And then you could continue dreaming. And those dreams that you are dreaming are automatically doable. Yeah. So if you could impart one piece of advice to our listeners today about dreaming big or bold and bridging the gap to their desired reality, what would it be?
Yeah, I think it would be this, is that there will be the 2 hardest days as a dreamer. Number 1, it's going to be the day that you start. It'll be today. It'll be today listening to this for some of the people. Second hardest day will be the day that you want to quit. It could be this afternoon. It could be tomorrow. It could be in 30 days. At some moment though, MJ, all of us are guilty of that day that we want to quit. And so I would tell everybody, just start and then don't stop, because the world needs you. The world needs your dreams. The in-between matters. And if you can just remind yourself of that, start, don't stop, you'll get to where you want to be.
Yeah, totally. Well said. And you know what I think, really, Julia, after listening to what you had to say, once you start and once you understand why you started, there is no stopping. Because you bought into it, you understand it, you comprehend it, you know that this is the best thing that could ever happen to you. So the dream starts little, then big, and then bold. Yeah. So again, folks, this brings us to the end of another enlightening episode of the Merging Life and Money Show. What a profound and illuminating conversation we had today with Julia Gentry. Julia, your wisdom and insights are an absolute treasure, okay? From understanding the roots of your best-selling book, Dream, I Dare You, to deciphering how we can transform ourselves from dreamers to doers, and even delving into the pivotal role of belief formation. You've truly opened our eyes to the power of dreaming bold. And to our listeners, remember this: dreaming is not just about the vision we see when our eyes are closed. It's about the realities we create when our eyes are wide open. So each one of us is capable of extraordinary things, right? But it begins by daring to dream and having the conviction to bridge that gap. And as we wrap up today's show, I'd like to encourage each one of you to take a moment to reflect on what Julia has shared with us and to consider how you can apply these insights to your own life. And for those who haven't yet picked up a copy of Julia's book, Dream, I Dare You, trust me, it is a read that's bound you to inspire, challenge, and empower you. And for all the dreamers listening who are ready to become doers, visit the Dream Factory & Co.'s website. Explore Julia's dream framework and start your journey of transformation today. So, Julia, your insights today have been incredibly inspiring. Okay, I'm sure so many of our listeners are interested in taking the next step to engage with you and your transformative dream framework. Could you please share with our audience the best way to reach out to you if they so wish to explore your services further? I'm going to change the banner so they could see your information as well while you speak.
Okay, great. Yeah, if you want to get connected to our dream framework, the best place to go is dreamstormwithjulia.com. And if you scroll down, you're going to see a spot where it says free training. I'd like to invite you to come as my guest. Each week we meet on Thursday evenings where we do this stuff. We talk about this stuff on that call live with me. I would love to see you then. You can also find me at the Julia Gentry on all social platforms.
Okay, so I'm going to let the ribbon scroll down. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe to Julia's podcast, the Dream On Podcast, a podcast designed for people who want to turn their good, fine, and even mediocre life in for one that is great, a life that is actualized and full of utilized purpose and potential. This is the show for people who are not satisfied with the life they have and are committed to realizing their own potential. And do not forget to subscribe to my podcast as well, the Merging Life and Money Show, for more inspiring conversations and practical advice on how to seamlessly integrate your dreams with your financial goals. So until the next time, remember, it's your dream, okay? So dare to chase it, dare to achieve it, and most importantly, dare to live it. Thank you once again for tuning in, and I look forward to bringing you more insightful conversations covering a wide range of financial wellness topics in our upcoming episodes. I will see you again next week, Thursday, at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 9 p.m. Central Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, and 11 p.m. Atlantic Time. Oh, I forgot, noon Friday, Brisbane, Australia time for my Australian friends. I am your host, Marie-Jo César. I will be back again next week. Until Then continue merging life and money. Bye for now.